Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the top 10 red flags Princess Diana should have seen in King Charles. Starting off with number 10, what love means. The firstborn son of Queen Elizabeth II probably could have married anyone, but he chose Diana, a pretty soft-spoken school teacher who was more than a decade his junior. They had met before, but when his beloved uncle Lord Mountbatten passed away, their romance took off quickly. Charles saw Diana in a new light all of a sudden as she offered Charles comfort. But that brand new light might not have been love. In point of fact, if we look back at the initial interview that Charles and Diana gave after they announced their engagement, we can see an awkward moment that may have revealed everything about the relationship. On the day of the wedding, there were also a few awkward moments that nobody knew about, like these little known details about Charles and Diana's wedding. Charles turned to Diana to see what she would say when the interviewer asked the couple if they were in love. "Of course," she said with a scowl before turning away. After that, Charles stated, "Well, whatever in love means." Ouch. Diana, that is a red flag right there. Many people probably thought, "Oh, how adorable," or such witty banter. However, Charles was probably revealing his true feelings for Diana, or rather his lack of them, instead of being cute or funny with it. Number 9, Diana's reaction. Those 4 words caused Diana more harm than she showed in the interview. That completely threw me off, Diana remarked later after the couple's dirty laundry had been made public. "I was completely traumatized by it." Diana's lack of understanding of the issue may have exacerbated the situation. She just knew that her soon-to-be husband's comments seemed odd. Diana had trouble processing the fact that Charles had made a bracelet for Camilla, the woman he had always loved and to whom he is now married, just a few weeks before her wedding. Even though Diana faced a challenge, this was not the worst day of her life. Naturally, Diana eventually realized and accepted the fact that Charles did not love her in the same way he loved Camilla. When Diana and Charles split up in 1992 and divorced in 1996, the rest of the world eventually did the same. The royal gossip continued after the divorce, and some secrets about Princess Diana were only revealed after the tragic passing of the people's princess. Number 8, jealousy. However, during his marriage to Princess Diana, he had his first significant encounter with disapproving public opinion. Archival footage of the couple touring Australia in the new HBO documentary The Princess suggests that he was jealous of how much more popular she was. Well, the real-life Diana confirmed that Charles envied the public's devotion to his wife in her explosive 1995 interview with the BBC's Martin Bashir. The pressure on us both as a couple with the media was phenomenal and misunderstood by a great many people. We'd be going around Australia, for instance, and all you could hear was, "Oh, she's on the other side." Diana subsequently clarified that the waiting crowds were expressing their disappointment that Charles was closer to them, rather than Diana, explaining they weren't on the right side to wave at me or to touch me. Now, if you're a man like my husband, a proud man, you mind about that if you hear it every day for 4 weeks, and you feel low about it, instead of feeling happy and sharing it, Diana continued. When Bashir asked, "So they were expressing a preference even then for you rather than your husband?" she responded, "Yes," which I felt very uncomfortable with, and I felt it was unfair because I wanted to share. Diana confirmed Charles's jealousy when Bashir asked if she was flattered by the media attention she received. "No, not particularly," Diana replied. "Because with the media attention came a lot of jealousy. A great deal of complicated situations arose because of that. Someone close to you acting out of jealousy towards you is never fun." Considering he was a future king at the time, I'm sure this hurt his ego even though it shouldn't have. He should have been proud of how publicly accepted his future queen was, but I guess not everyone, even a king, likes to see people winning, right? On to number 7, messy proposal. Diana is proposed to by Prince Charles, the royal attendant at Windsor Castle. She affirms, it is said that the couple had only gone out a few times at that point. After that, the 19-year-old receives a great deal of media attention. The New York Times reports that she once wept while driving, despite how gracefully she handled most of it. She referred to all of the photographers saying, "I know it's just a job they have to do, but sometimes I do wish they wouldn't." She moved into Clarence's house from a small apartment. On February 24, the couple made their engagement public for the first time. Charles famously responds, "Whatever in love means," when a reporter inquires about the romantic relationship. The guest list included political leaders from all over the world and included 35 100 people. Charles was the eldest son of Queen Elizabeth and the heir to the throne. Consequently, the guest list required friends and family as well as world leaders. And Camilla was one of the guests, a royally savage invite. Camilla was seated next to her sister Annabelle in a gray suit and veiled pillbox hat. Andrew Parker Bowles, her first husband, was a part of the celebrations, leading the household cavalry as Diana and Charles's escort. The bravado to pretend to be the groom's mistress at the wedding? The narrative just flows naturally. To add fuel to the fire, Charles even wore Camilla's gift of cufflinks to his wedding. In case you were wondering why Charles didn't marry Camilla in the first place, the royals did not like her because she had been married before, which was bad news for the country's future king. However, fast forward to 2005 when Charles finally married Camilla, who's currently the queen consort. I suppose it was destiny for this couple. Number 5, a business transaction. The author of HRH Speaking to Us Weekly, according to So Many Thoughts on Royal Style, the Wales wedding was almost like a business transaction, which in my opinion sounds about as appealing as wearing wet socks. Diana was clearly very eager, willing, and wanting to please, and she just checked so many boxes and fit right in. The expert then discusses the extremely brief courtship between the royal couple. It was so brief that kind of reveals Charles's approach to this and the pressures he was experiencing. It almost felt like a formality. That doesn't sound any better. It's very easy to find all the red flags in retrospect, considering the 19-year-old Diana was making this huge life decision without a stable family behind her and much guidance. Homestead of Diana. Instead of marrying for love, it seems more like they were trying to fulfill a duty. Number 4, confirming the cheating scandals. Diana was right to be concerned about Charles's affair. In point of fact, some of the people who denied her assertions were the very people who were attempting to conceal the relationship from her. Diana was convinced that the Princess of Wales was going insane because these people were really gaslighting her to such an extent. Even Shakespeare couldn't write this kind of tragedy. A new foreword to Martin's book says that Charles asked his staff for help to hide his affair with Camilla. Even though they were aware that Charles would be out with his lover, Charles's chef and butler were instructed to prepare dinner and were forced to accompany the prince on shady nighttime visits to see Camilla. It was instructed to Charles's valet to mark the TV listings guide to give the impression that the prince had spent the night watching television at home. Charles's staff had to listen to police radios to track Diana's journey to the hospital after he broke his arm in a polo accident, so they could get Camilla out of Charles's room before the princess arrived. Diana knew all along that Charles had his staff working overtime to conceal his lies from her. Charles's staff was sickened by the affair and foresaw the breakdown of the marriage. When Charles publicly admitted to the affair in '94, 2 years after Diana and he had officially separated, the secret was made public. Charles wed Camilla in 2005 after the couple finalized their divorce in '96. Are we all shocked? Charles finally weds his ex-mistress, who is also the most despised woman in the UK because people thought she was to blame for Diana and Charles's failed marriage. I'm not saying I'm on either side, but I think Charles should be held accountable for their marriage's failure. What do you think? On to number 3, royal break. Charles and Diana both have extramarital affairs and they're extremely dissatisfied with their marriage. In '94, Charles informed Jonathan Dimbleby, his official biographer, that he resumed his relationship with Camilla this year. Meanwhile, Diana's alleged affair with Army Captain James Hewitt is said to have begun around the same time. Charles writes how awful incompatibility is and how dreadfully destructive it can be for the players in this extraordinary drama, in a letter to an unidentified correspondent. It has all the elements of a Greek tragedy, and I never anticipated how it would end. In 1987 to 1992, there were rumors of marital pressure surrounding Charles and Diana for the next few years. When Diana didn't go to Balmoral with Charles every summer in 1987, headlines in the press called it a royal break. They appeared distant and unhappy during several public appearances. Reporter Georgina Howell discovered this in a 1988 Vanity Fair article. She was the love of everyone except for her husband. In her mid-20s, she was confronted with something she found chilling. A marriage out of a fairy tale that had cooled down into an arrangement. A classic example of people thinking you have everything when in reality you lack what you want most. A great tragedy. Shakespeare should have taken notes from this relationship. Number 2, Charles's true feelings. Charles was emotionally distant from Diana during his affair with Camilla. Additionally, no one has really stood up for her. Andrew Morton published Diana Her True Story, a shocking account of the breaking up of the marriage. It also talked about Charles's relationship with Camilla and Diana's struggles with mental health. It wasn't known for sure at the time that the princess worked on the book with the British author in secret. The couple announced their separation in the same year. In '96, the divorce was finalized, scrutinized, Diana passed away at the age of 36 from injuries she received in the Paris car accident a year later. Charles, according to Anderson, was heartbroken by Diana's passing. He was said to have been ashen and trembling when he got the dreaded call. A cry of pain that was so spontaneous and came from the heart. He then let out a howl of anguish, according to one witness who could be heard down the hall. Collapsed in an armchair, weeping uncontrollably, the palace staff discovered Charles when they rushed his room. According to Anderson's explanation, Charles is responsible not only for having brought the monarchy to its knees at one point after Diana passed away, but also for rescuing it. People probably don't realize how devastated he was by her passing. I spoke with the hospital nurses who first saw him when he entered the room and saw her body. He also appeared to have been struck in the face. He retreated and they believed he was gonna faint. They were surprised to see how emotional Charles was after her passing. I guess sometimes it takes things to not be around you for you to really appreciate them, right? And number 1, more recent controversies. Charles's troubled past has been exposed numerous times now that he is king. He was accused of trying to get the British government to do something. A senior member of parliament dubbed Charles Britain's best informist lobbyist after it was revealed in 2015 that he had received secret documents about the British government's inner workings that not even elected ministers had seen. The royal engaged in personal lobbying efforts to senior politicians about a variety of topics, including illegal fishing of the Patagonian toothfish and orders of military helicopters during the Iraq War, according to 27 memos that were provided to The Guardian and dubbed the Black Spider memos due to Charles's scrawl. Clarence House stated at the time that it is typical for heirs to the throne to be briefed on political topics. However, critics argued that members of the royal family should avoid politics. King Charles's political activism raises the question of whether he will be a political outspoken monarch. According to University of Chicago historian James Vaughn, who spoke to Politico, the question mark would be, would he try to use his role in the unwritten constitution to influence the British government's politics and thinking more than his mother probably ever wanted to? Charles will be scrutinized more closely now that he is king. However, in a 2013 Time profile of the royal, he made a comment that could be aimed at anyone who doubts that he is worthy of his position or up to it. He told the magazine that you end up discovering there was value in them if you throw away too many things. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more juicy royal updates. And I'll catch you next time on The Rich Life.